Hi guys, Rush here from Ravencrest Performance Sources, and today I would like to have a bit of a look back on raising my first foal, Bunty. Now of course, as always, these things are pre-recorded, but I'm hoping that this is going to be up in time for the 26th of November, which is Bunty's second birthday. I am going to give this a bit of a preface of I didn't intend to have a foal, I don't feel that I was ready, but there's details that involved in the lead up that I don't feel comfortable sharing. They're just a bit personal, so if you do try to press for the details of how did Flair get pregnant, I'm just gonna go through the basics of birds and the bees. But anyway, let's get into it with starting with, of course, the labour and gestation time. So most of you probably know that gestation is meant to take 11 months. The safe zone being 320 to 360 days, and 340 day being your ideal mark. That's our due date. Bunty went, screw the rules, and assuming that she was conceived on the first night with the stallion, she only spent 307 days in the womb, so she technically should not have been a viable foal. But she was eager to hit the world, which was good. But of course the dramas start right away in that I had explicitly told the property owner of where Flair went into labour that I don't care if it's 1 a.m. and you think she's going into labour, you tell me, you call me, and I will be there. And she didn't. She saw the first stage of labour and decided, instead of calling me, to have a social call with one of her daughters, because that sounds like a good way to confirm. Social call was about an hour long, if not longer, and by the time she came out, Flair had gone through all 3 stages of labour, and Bunty was standing and latched. She got some photos and decided she wasn't going to bother me, and I wasn't told until the next morning at about 7 o'clock. So by the time I got to the adjustment that morning, it was 9 a.m. Bunty was about 11 hours old from what I was told. And I put the work into trying to get her okay with people, but she was a very timid foal for the first month of her life. Not wanting to have much to do with people. So it took a month before I could actually be approaching her at a stand and at a walk. I had to progress from just sitting in the shade until she approached me and covering her in like pats and scratches and affection, until she realized, it's nice, we get itches scratched and lots of love, and this weird thing isn't so bad. And then we had a trainer out when she was about a month old, which went pretty well. This was just to get halters on, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I hadn't gotten the halter on when she first hit the ground, so, a bit silly of me there, but it is what it is. But unfortunately there were some issues, not just that I wasn't contacted when the labour happened, but also the property owner would go and overstep her duties, in that she was meant to just go and feed the horses. They didn't have rugs to be changed. You don't rug your mares with foals at foot because they can get tangled in the leg straps as they go for nursing. She'd go in and try to handle the filly, and she hadn't seen how the filly was meant to be handled. She hadn't seen any of the ways that we were working with Bunty to work with the fact that she was not a very confident little filly. So she was very much aggressive almost with her energy, and I've got no time, hurry, hurry type thing, which didn't work well because Bunty was quite shy, and you needed to grow her confidence in you before you could really do much with her. And because I was working with that, I was building her confidence in me to make her trust me properly. And the property owner hadn't done that. The property owner said a couple of really nasty things behind my back. And I made the call of, I don't want to be here. This is a toxic environment to raise my filly, and ultimately a 2-hour commute to see her is not in our favour for her to get the regular work and training that's going to help her be her best. So we moved to a different property. And this second property was the one that really taught me a lot about just how hard it is to have a foal on adjustment and with other people around, because everyone has an opinion. The filly was not ready to go permanently unhaltered, but I was bullied into taking her halter off before she was ready, and then she couldn't handle her for almost a month. She would come up for a cuddle, but the moment she saw the halter, just pissed off. Not ideal. Eventually we did get the halter back on her, and we were able to pick up almost exactly where we left off. She didn't go backwards with that. She's a huge relief. But the biggest thing I think was I had 2 rules. Because I keep my rules pretty simple. And my rules are, don't do anything more than pat my horses over the fence if I'm not there, and don't let them demand things from you, including butt scratches. This was a huge point I had for the foal because Bunty's only a couple of months old. She's only about waist high. She's cute. And at that stage, it's kind of like, oh, but it's cute when they turn their bum towards you and really demand scratches. But Bunty was a part Frisian Pinto. Her sire was a Baroque-built Frisian expected to mature at 16 hands. Flair is 15 too, and yeah, it's a bit much there. That's a foal that's going to get big, not only in height, but in being quite chunky, and having that turn its bum towards you and chase you backwards is not something you want to have happen. And they did not listen. They did not listen to that. She really started demanding butt scratches and actually would try to kick you if you didn't give them to her. So I put my foot down a bit more, going, do not go in with my horses, don't touch my horses. And that seemed to go okay. When I made it a flat thing of no one but me or my fiance, everyone just shut up and dealt with it. And so then it was a thing of, yep, okay, time to wean her. And I got her mostly weaned before I sent her off to a stud. And having her at the stud was the best decision I had made. And it would have been for the best if I could have actually kept her at the stud and actually raised her from birth at that stud. There were other horses, lots of other foals. Nothing was done to her that I wasn't asked about. And there was this understanding of if the horse can be haltered, have its feet picked up, and you can give it a wormer, it's good. But yeah, that was the best time for her. She was loving being in with the group, but unfortunately, in my situation, it wasn't financially viable long term, so I had to bring her back. And that's when things got even worse. And in that, I mean, by this point, it's like, well, I need to get her exposed to other people. She's for sale. Other people handling her is producing security for her. And so people were allowed in with her when I was there, and that was my flat ruling. But of course, someone has to not listen. And one of the other agistes took about 10 children in with the filly when I wasn't even on property. They didn't tell me about it until a couple of weeks later when I had invited two teenagers in, young teenagers, about 13, 14, maybe as young as 12, to come in and meet her, and she became aggressive. She straight away attempted to bite these two children. And the other registes called over, oh yeah, she was like that with my kids too, with my grandkids as well. And of course I was gobsmacked, because that's not allowed. So I had to leave this property as well. That wasn't the only incident. There was beginning to be a bit of bullying in that I didn't think that my 6-month-old foal really needed to be able to be basically entirely like a 2-year-old, just not with a rider on her back. I could crawl under her, I could throw things over her, she could be rugged and washed and her feet picked out, and weird little filly decided that wormers were a treat and loved them. But that wasn't good enough for a 6-month-old filly. Apparently she should be able to be worked in a surcingle, and I should be lunging her and long lining her all the time. Which, she's a 6-month-old. She doesn't need that much yet. So I've once again found myself moving my horses. This place we moved to, I think Bunty was about 7 or 8 months old by the time we moved there, was pretty good. The lady who owned it wasn't a proper adjustment place. It was just, she had a larger backyard than she had animals to eat off of it. So she had more grass than her horses could eat, and was willing to bring a handful of people on to keep the grass down, which was wonderful. So I brought my girls there, and there were 2 children which were very respectful of my rules. In fact, everyone on the property was very respectful of my rules. They would only go into paddocks if they lost one of their toys, because basically I was in this woman's backyard. And yeah, that went really well. Bunty got past her fear of children and actually started to really love the young boy. But we ultimately didn't stay there long either, because Bunty sold. And at the point of sale, when the transport came to pick her up, she didn't care about the noise of a stock whip. You could hold her lead rope in one finger. She would come and hover at the gate when she saw you coming down to the paddocks. You could rug her, you could use her as a pack horse for the rugs. Like, nothing actually weighty. Of course, it was just her rug or a couple of feed bags. You could balance a biscuit of hay on her bum. she would stand for the wash bay, you pick out her feet, throw things over her, crawl under her, started to lunge a little bit, and she wouldn't bat an eye. So that's where she was when the transporter picked her up, and she's gone to a lovely older couple in New South Wales who still send me some pictures of her every now and then. I am recording this, of course, a month in advance, so hopefully I will have a photo of her on her second birthday, see how big she's gotten. And I'm really, really happy where she's gone, to see how she's going. And while we didn't have the best journey together, it was a huge saga, and a lot of things that could go wrong did go wrong in terms of being around other people. I'm really, really grateful for everything that I was able to learn from her and from my experience with her. But if you've watched all of this, then I may as well give you a bit of a summary of the basics of what I learnt with raising a foal, and that is, if you are on agistment, make sure you can afford to have your foal grow out until at least 1.5 at the stud. It will be a lot nicer and more convenient for you if you do that, because you won't have everyone trying to tell you what to do. Or if you've got your own land, then that is perfect. You're not going to get too much trouble on your own land from other people, unless of course you bring a trainer on. But bringing a trainer on, you're asking them for their advice, and they will of course give it, and I would hope that you've done the research to know that their methods are what you appreciate and like. And another thing to remember, which is hard to keep as an active thing in your mind, is if it's cute when they're little, but won't be cute when they're 16 hands, it's no longer cute when they're little. It's actually just, it doesn't matter if they're 16 hands or 6 hands. Remember that they're going to get big, and thus it is not cute, because it is so much harder to untrain something than it is to train something. But thank you so much for watching this, and I really hope you enjoyed hearing about what I learnt with raising Bunty. I hope you found it useful. Of course, if you want some more content, then hit that subscribe button and feel free to get the bell as well. It will make sure you know exactly when I'm putting a new video up. I've got some more content planned, and if you have suggestions, I would love to hear them, because you might have an idea that I haven't thought of yet. So I would love to hear from you if you've got ideas for videos you want to see. But with that being said, thank you so much again, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!